two of the greatest problems in history are how to account for the rise of Rome and how to account for her fall. We may come nearer to understanding the truth if we remember that the fall of Rome, like her rise, had not one cause, but many, and was not an event, but a process spread over 300 years. Some nations have not lasted as long as Rome fell. In the year 180 AD, the Emperor Marcus Aurelius.
Hello everyone, this is a booktube competition in the arena once more. Is SPQR, alas, or otherwise, against this Oxford History of the Roman World, edited by Boardman, Griffin and Murray. And that's Jasper Griffin, interestingly enough. More of that in a little while. So what's this about? How to compare the two? Well, I've picked out just a little instance, a particular specific little passage of play, as it were, between these two books. And it all centres on the compensation law. The compensation law brought in by Gaius Gracchus in the 120s BC, which appears in the SPQR on about page 262 and 3. So what was the reason for the compensation law? And what was it all about? The reason was to provide justice against senatorial misconduct throughout the empire. Okay, so SPQR says that the law was brought in to prevent senators effectively acquitting their own group in society by making juries out of the equities rank. Tax collecting in the empire was arranged by private contractors. The senatorial rank was formally debarred from commerce or finance, so the equities rank provided the contractors. The senatorial rank provided the governors or proconsuls. A problem emerged because only the senators could be charged for misconduct via the compensation laws, and not the men of equities rank. Therefore, if and when a senator and or governor investigated and found misconduct by the tax collectors in the empire, charges were often subsequently brought against the senators or governors on some trumped-up charge, probably because after the Gracchus reform, the equities were the only group that were members of the juries that heard these misconduct cases. And I quote, and where is this from? I think this is from SPQR. It was often alleged that far from acting as imperial assessors, they turned out to be partisan supporters, close quote, of men from their own group, often finding senatorial governors subsequently guilty. Okay, so it would seem, therefore, that Gracchus had decided that a jury made up of men of senatorial rank would somehow naturally acquit men of their own rank. And SPQR does not imply that Gracchus had got things wrong. And SPQR also implies that the equities acted as a group against the senators. All this changed under Sulla, who changed the jury membership to senatorial rank only. The big case involving Cicero and Verres was charged with misconduct when he was governor of Sicily. Happens to be also the last example where a jury was of senatorial rank. And regardless of the fact, the senatorial jury found Verres guilty. Sulla makes his changes, and a few years subsequently elapse. And at this point, we're then given, in SPQR, a single vague line about how some years after the change made by Sulla, and I quote, a backlash was growing, that is, against the senatorial rank, and generally. But no reasons are given. We might wonder why. Presumably they were up to no good sometimes, sooner or later. But SPQR has absolutely nothing to say about it, which would appear to be a peculiar omission. By contrast, the Oxford chapter, the chapter in this Oxford history, that's actually written by Miriam Griffin, says that these juries did indeed often acquit senatorial defendants, but not because they were of the same rank. The Oxford says Sulla, and I quote, probably hoped they would be less liable to acquit their peers because most of them would never enjoy the same opportunities. Close quote. Most of them would never end up being proconsuls. But they acquitted their fellow senators because of bribery. The Oxford history tells us some specific stuff about bribery. So, in short, both these books, and I'm just going to turn it around, both these books kind of say things similar things overall. But with a crucial omission in the SPQR. We're invited in SPQR to assume by implication, by implying, that the equities and senatorial ranks acted collectively for their own mutual benefit. And in a way they even do that, but not because they are acting in any class interest. They are acting in their own interest, lining their own pockets, within the opportunities and possibilities of the system. This is a disappointing omission from SPQR that is featured in this one. I don't know whether it makes any difference. First published in 1986. Funnily enough. As a matter of interest. Whoops. For me, it's not a question of which one is the case and which one isn't. The evidence is provided by both for what they have to say. But the winning evidence is to be found in the Oxford. The reality of which is much, much more interesting. Okay. Just a little word about these pictures. That one is by a fellow called Carl Argard and is simply entitled A Colonnade of Antiquity. And this one is a very fine work of art featuring the Leaning Tower of Pisa that was framed by me and is called How's the World Going? Okay, so that's my little contest between these two. I hope you found that interesting and meaningful and perhaps enlightening as well. So, bye for now.
Behind him and his people are the vandals. Untold millions of them, waiting for a moment of weakness, ready to destroy us. If we take these barbarians in amongst us, our enemies will say it is because we are weak. Then they will pour in on us from everywhere. It will be the end of the Roman Empire. It will be the end of Rome.
The end of Rome? How does an empire die? Does it collapse in one terrible moment? No. But there comes a time when its people no longer believe in it. Then does an empire begin to die.